Section 2. Drama and the subgeneric forms. As a major generic form of literature, drama can either be conventional or non-conventional. It has a set of generic subsets that include ritual, history, tragedy, comedy, etc., each allowing further subdivisions and variants in form and theoretical representation of human experience. The non-conventional drama includes the Brechian epic and Oshofison's neo-rationalist drama, etc. Having discussed in details the significance of ritual drama as a possible alpha factor in the development of drama in classical Greece and in the indigenous African society, we shall illustrate extensively what a typical African ritual drama is, using the Adam at ADLMT Orisha Festival in Lagos, Nigeria, its possible origin, dramaturgy and significance. Again, because we find Joel Adedeji and Bode Osoyin's accounts concise and very reliable, they shall serve as our principal sources. We also hope to discuss some of the other subgenres of drama later in chapter 3 of this book. Origin of Adamorisha. Critics' views about the origin of Adansaras are as controversial as they are diverse, but for the pioneering effort of Joel Adedeji 1973 and much later Bode Osoyin 1983 and the origin of Adamorisha would still have remained shrouded in obscurity. The effort of these scholars paid off in the sense that they not only stemmed the controversies, they in addition reduced the origin versions to two. This we hope to contend with and also use as the basis of our discussion in this book. Joel Adedeji's version. Olugbami, who was the wife of King Ado of Lagos, had no child. Her search for a child took her to an Ijebu Remo village called Ibefun, where she consulted the Ifa oracle and finally had a child after performing some rituals. The child's name was Kuti, who later became ruler of Lagos as Ologun Kutere from about AD 1749. When King Ologun Kutere was later informed about his miraculous birth, he ordered that the deity responsible for his birth be brought nearer to a place where he could occasionally offer sacrifice and worship him. Two emissaries of the king brought the Orisha from Ijebu to Okeikpa in Ikoyi, Lagos. They were Ajilu and Imalakin. The yearly sacrifice and worship of the deity began from then by the Ologun Kutere lineage. Bode Osoyin's version. Like Joel Adedeji, oral history and records from the archives largely foreground Osoyin's version of Adamasa origin. Olugbani, also called Olufaderin, a pretty woman, was a native of Ibefun who was childless for a long time. Her people were so concerned about her childlessness that they consulted with the Ifa oracle. Ifa instructed that she should leave Ibefun for Lagos, where she could be fruitful. She got married to the king of Ado after her arrival in Lagos. Olugbani, also the Olori Oba, was the principal wife of Oba Ado, who was believed to have reigned from about 1630. Olugbani had 3 children, Akinshemoyin, Erelukuti, and Gabaro. Erelukuti was the only daughter. Akinshemoyin reigned after Oba Ado, and Gabaro reigned after Akinshemoyin. The throne was open to Ologun Kutere and Sokun, the 2 sons of Erelukuti. After the demise of Gabaro, Ologun Kutere reigned after Gabaro. The people of Ibefun heard and were happy about the fortune of their daughter, Olugbani, who settled in Lagos. They sent our brothers Malaki and Eji from Ibehun to pay her a visit in Lagos. Olugbani had died before their arrival in Lagos, but they met Erelu Kuti and her sons. Oba Ologun Kutere of Iga, Idugoran and Sokun, the Ogboni of Iga Idutafa. The emissaries from Ibefun were happy to be associated with Lagos royal family. The two returned home with a resolve to find a way of honoring their royal relations. Malaki, Imalakin, brought Eyo from Ikperu, and Ajilu brought Awo Okpa from Oyo to honor their worthy in-laws. The source also claimed that Eya came to Lagos before other girls like Adun, Oniku, Ologede, Alagere, and Eyo Okonlaba. They all later characterized what is now known as Adamorisha Festival. At the beginning, Eya had its abode at Okekpa, an island, and the Oba and his people used to cross to the island to celebrate Eyo Festival. It was Oba Erelu Kuti who was said to have chosen the site because Eyo and Awokpa could not stay among the people at Isaleko, probably due to the immense ritual associated with their celebrations. Till date, Awokpa rituals are always celebrated to round off Adamorisha Festival. It must be emphasized that different versions of its origin story exist today, with sources traceable to, for example, the Igbogbo myth and the Eya Ajabe of Iberu. From the two versions, issues such as the actual hometown of Olugbani remain unknown, Ibefun or Lagos. Whether Olugbani actually came to Ibefun from Lagos in search of a child, or that as an Ibefun woman she left for Lagos on the instruction of the Ifa oracle, and whether Malaki and Ejilu were Ologun Kutere emissaries to Ibefun, or that as Olugbani's siblings or kinsmen they were sent by Olugbani's relations at Ibefun to Lagos. These issues are far from being resolved, but two aspects remain constant and fundamental. They are: 1. That the first recorded and documented performance of Adamorisha Festival was in 1854, not necessarily the year Adamorisha Festival began. 2. That Malaki and Ejilu were responsible for importing Eya and Awokpa respectively to Lagos. Adamorisha as ritual drama. Eya and Awokpa originally were twin ritual celebrations performed simultaneously. Eya had originated from Ikperu, while Awokpa was brought from Oyo. They were imported to Lagos about the same time as exclusive preserve of the royal family. The royal group that made the ritual performance an exclusive preserve of the royal family, however, became relaxed, making ritual performance a little more flexible and adaptable. This was as a result of King Dosumu approval of Chief Akpena Ajasa's imaginativeness and creativeness, which he brought to bear on the Eya's enactment. Laba. Chief Akpena Ajasa's design, with its unique peculiarities, was a also deliberate deviation and or distortion of the original ritual and worship. This was largely so because it was intended for public and participation. According to Joy Adedeji, it was one Jacob Rates Aleshinloye who was about the first person outside the royal family to have adapted the air of play to mark the funeral rites of his late mother, though not without initial objection from the king. King acted Dosumu in honor of his own late mother, who later staged the Eyo or Ora Adamorisha play on 13 April 1875. J. Adedeji, 1973, page 6. The Adamorisha play, as identified by J. Adedeji, is by every standard the African ritual drama. It has all the essential of dramatic ingredients, elements that make a good ritual drama. Adedeji's detailed description of Adamorisha dramatic form is considered very reliable in this respect and shall be our guide in this study. Plot. The plot is simple and unlinear. Adimi, the reincarnated Orisha Nla, is summoned to lead the rite of passage in order to facilitate the crossing over of the spirits of the deceased candidate so that he could join the ancestors. In order to accomplish the great task, Adimu set out to play the chief mourner at the Amoku or Imoku for the atonement of the sins of the deceased, to carry out the offered sacrifice of expiation on behalf of the heir deceased by way of the sweat debris and filth by the Eyos group. The Eyo are essential spirits representing the inhabitants of Lagos. To face the immolation he must suffer in the ends of the Eyo, as well as final ejection as carrier beyond the lagoon. Stage. The Adamorisha is a play with multiple stages where performances are held. There are 4 stages in all, and they are all located in selected streets within and around the Lagos Island: Agbo, Iga, Idungoro, Imoku, and Idumota. Agbodo stage. Agbodo stage is relatively a sanctuary located at the Upper King Street and usually put in a place on the eve of performance. The performing area, the stage, is enclosed with specially woven raffia mats. There, members of the Adam court dance to the 16 Oshogbo drums and gong, the unusual rustic spiritual sound, and the Igbe song facilitate cultic immersion and possession, which are familiar sayings at Agodo. Iga Idungoro Palace is another stage location. Thick mats similar to those used at Agodo are also used to enclose the performing area. Here, Adimu the carrier and the mundane ruler of Lagos exchange formal homage. Imoku. Here, the mummy is made to lie in state with all the ritual paraphernalia on display: mask, hat, staff, etc. The design varies from person to person, and it is usually determined by the social status of the deceased. The lying in state will definitely be in an Iga if the deceased is from a royal family. If a white cap chief, the setting is predictable to be in public place like the famous Glover Hall. But if the deceased is a honorary chief, the setting is in a private home of the deceased. Setting in this context is significant in many ways. For example, it is a scene of the symbolic mourning of Adimu and where the traditional dialogue with deceased take place. Every Eyo pays homage by filing past the mummy. Iga Idungoro Palace is another stage location. Thick mats similar to those used at Agodo are also used to enclose the performing area. Here, Adimu the carrier and the mundane rulers of Lagos exchange formal homage. Idumota. Idumota is a rectangular enclosure provided along Nnamdi Azikiwe Street around the Idumota cenotaph. The acting area is on the main road facing the grandstand. The different Eyo groups are paraded, marking the climax of the drama and the grand finale of the festival. Here people are made to witness the formal encounter between Adimu and Eya, as well as the symbolic submission of the latter and his final ejection as the scapegoat. It is similar to the mock due in the Obantala festival drama at Ede, an ancient town in Osun State, Nigeria, in which Oluwin Ajagemo, both priests, are engaged in a symbolic duel, and in which Ajagemo is defeated and taken hostage by the former Oba Timi. The town's monarch later pays a ransom to Oluwin for the release of Ajagemo. The ransom Ajagemo is then carried shoulder high among deans and jubilation, singing and dancing into Timi's palace. Richard Kenans, The Future of Ritual, 1995, has a whole chapter on street theater in one of his proposals for the future of ritual, in which the street is the stage. Setting: the Adamorisha festival is largely held on selected streets of Lagos. For example, the routes leading to the four strategic stages also constitute street stage performances, a necessary symbolic passage through which the dramatic action is enhanced. Oje Elegba, where the shrine of is located, is one of such street stages. The shrine is significant in the sense that Adamu or Adimu must stop there on his way to Agodo and offer symbolic sacrifices to appease Esha, so that he, Adimu, may be fit enough to perform his delicate tasks without an itch. Another significance of the selected street of Lagos in the performance of Adamorisha play is that other Eyo groups floor them later in the day to perform their symbolic whipping. Furthermore, the Eyo play involves several dramatic personae. These include Adimu, Eyo, Mommy, Oniko, Ologede, Agere, Alakete Pupa or Okolaba, and Eyo Adima. The tragic hero represent the Orishanla who made the barren woman Ulugbani to be procreative. Eyo is a tall masquerade that represents the ancestor or founder of Lagos. He speaks the Awori dialect of the Yoruba language. Mommy is the honored deceased whose spirit is declared to be elevated to the rank of an ancestor by means of the Eyo ritual festival. Oniko is a masquerade costume in raffia. According to Bode Osoyin 1980 to 418, Oniko has ruined the status of the officiating priest. The costume is similar to that of Sangebeto masquerade of Tongoland, having an appearance of a thatched hut. The masquerade usually ushers in the day with series of ritual. Ologede is a masquerade costume in banana leaves. It represents the evoked spirit of Ulugbani, wife of King of Ado, summoned to witness Adimu's action. Ologede literally means owner of banana. In other words, according to Bode Osoyin 1983, page 1419, it is the spirit of the banana tree embodying the sweetness, the soothing and transcooling spirit in banana. Perhaps this is why it was found convenient to represent Ulugbani. Perhaps not. It is quite obvious that it is the physical and metaphysical soothing properties in banana as an object of appeasement etutu that make Ologede a god of peace. It is predictable to note that primarily Ologede ushers in peace in the course of the festival. Ologede usually performs his own rite after Oniko's rituals offering. We must however add that nowadays banana leaves are no longer used. Instead, a spherical costume built of green damask, still with the impression of banana leaves, is used. Although A1. A. Agere is regarded traditionally as an entertainer. His stilts are regarded and worshipped as spirits. Adedeji identifies him as one of the witnessing masquerades. Okolaba is also known as Alaketepopa or Olori Eyo or Olopa Eyo, the royal police. Is believed in many quarters to have arrived alone and separately. Okolaba, even though belongs to the Oba, that is the king's own Eyo, is not put in a permanent custody of any family. Okolaba is moved from family to family. Eyo Adimu is a group of masquerade that serves as chorus attendants on the Adimu. Other cultic masquerades have similar attendants. Other areas of dramatic importance in Adamorisha play include the use of dialogue, songs, and poetry in general. Dialogue is used in the exchange of greetings or in the paying homage to the Eyo masquerades. Okpe Ado, Iba Ado, Iba Akinsiku, thanks be to Ado, worship be to Ado, worship be to Akinsiku, Osoyin 1983 to 456. Other examples of the use of dialogue can be found in the exchange between the cultist and Eyo as recorded by Joel Adedeji. Cultist: Agogoro Eyo, you are the imposing Eyo. Eyo mo yọ̀ fún ọ, mo yọ̀ fún ara mi. Èmi agogoro Eyo, I rejoice with you, I rejoice with you. I am the imposing Eyo. Cultist: Pantiwa, why have you come? Eyo: Pantiwa, because I have a duty. Cultist: Okpashileka siko, what about the staff on the shoulder? Eyo: Tí ẹ̀yin lójú ni mo dé ìráyé. It is the rare part which weighs more in the precincts of ìráyé. Cultist: Níbo lo pàdé Aníkànjìyà? Where did you meet the lone sufferer? The Adamorisha play 17 to 18. Songs plays a vital role in Adamorisha play. For example, ó ti fa bẹ̀bẹ̀ fẹ́ kú lọ, ó ti fa bẹ̀bẹ̀ fẹ́ kú lọ, ni mo ṣe ní láti ṣọpẹ́, ó ti fa bẹ̀bẹ̀ fẹ́ kú lọ. He has dispelled death with his magic fan. He has dispelled death with his magic fan. Adimu has given us his pledge to dispel death with his magic fan. Osoyin 1983 to 439. Furthermore, the songs celebrating Ejilu and Malaki's importation of Eyo and Awokpa to Lagos are rendered in Igbe verses. Osoyin has this to say on Igbe praise songs. Igbe is the traditional royal song of praise. It is indeed a unique genre for Lagos. The style of singing comes from Awori land and has become the traditional music of the agreed Oloris, Queen. The repertoire of Igbe songs is essentially made of the history of royal lineage since the inception of Lagos. Igbe songs are never altered. They are handed down the ages. They have become classic. Bode Osoyin 414. Describing the Igbe music, Olatunji Vida 1980, page 13, informs that it has its own set of tones and usually accompanying in a series of agogo and bells. Significance: the religious function of the Adamorisha play cannot be overemphasized. The festival, for example, served dual religious purposes: funeral and purification rituals. The funeral rite of passage or the purpose of ascentizing or defying a disease considered worthy of such an honor. Purification, on the other hand, is observed in the literal cleansing exercise performed by the symbolic sweeping of filth and decay of the land by Eyo masquerades. as well as the carrier soul of Adimu, who becomes the satirical booth and at the same time the scapegoat of the appeasement rite, so that peace, health, and wealth might reign in the land. Similarly, there is an apparent social dimension to the functions of the Adamorisha play. Abiola Irele has identified three basic functions of the art, namely the phatic, the ludic, and the ideological. The first two are associated with oral literature. The phatic is concerned with the ability of oral performances like Adamorisha play to stimulate and encourage a sense of kinship among the people and thus establish a definitive relationship. Given the cosmopolitan outlook of the Lagos Island, the traditional setting of this festival, the inter-ethnic and inter-tribal historical link with Ijebu-Remo, Ikperu, Oyo, Benin, etc., it is obvious that a bond of kinship has long been established among the different tribes that exist within Lagos State and among the towns that are culturally connected through the Eyop Masquerade or Adamorisha Ritual Festival. As a political tool, the adapted version of the Adamorisha play is particularly used as a rallying point of public opinion. Through the song's history is recreated. For example, borrowing the opinion from which Finegon was offered the songs, the praise poems in Adamorisha play are fruitful source of currently authorized interpretation of certain historical events and genealogies. In one of the Igwe songs, in praise of Malaki, and Ejilu in Adamorisha play is traced to Oyo, where it was alleged to have been imported to Lagos. Omolo si Oyo Ajaka Ajaka, Oro Mubo si Ile. The emissary went to Oyo Ajaka and brought something home, also in 1980 to 440. Similarly, it is possible to trace the source of Adamorisha festival to Igbogbo in Ijebu. This is confirmed in one of Igbogbo praise poetry. Igbogbo Ilu Omo Mary Ipara, Igbogbo Eyo, Eyo Osinbokunran, Igbogbo Eyo, Eyo Igbogbo, Igbogbo Losan, Igbogbo Loru, Igbogbo Eyo, Ilu Ti Adaba, Morikire, 1980 to 442. It is the light of this fact that Igbogbo communities send representatives on invitation to Lagos whenever Adamorisha festival is to be held. Other important areas of the Adamorisha play that are also found to be compelling include the spectacle and the general masculine skins from which audience and participants derive aesthetic satisfaction. For example, at the Imam Amoku, there is usually a lavish arrangement that suggests the status of the deceased. Equally, lavishly dressed are those seated around the mummy. In effect, the Adini Iri Arisa play affords the people of Lagos the opportunity to express, during the festival celebration, suppressed desires in role-playing performances. Generally, it is characteristics of ritual drama to be situated in or fused with, generally, as in the case of Wole Soyinka's death and the King Osman, or history, as in the case of an attempt at a creative documentation of actual events of communal or national significance. As in the case of Adamorisha play, indeed, the former is a combination of both ritual and history. History plays an attempt at a creative documentation of actual events of communal or national significance and interest through enactments. William Shakespeare history plays in this regard include the Richard and the Henry plays. Others include two Roman generals, Julius Caesar and Coriolanus, understandably sourced from Plutarch's biographical works. Plutarch, AD 46 to 120, was a Greek philosopher who wrote not less than 80 biographies of famous Greeks and Romans, generally known as Plutarch's Lives. In contemporary African drama, Ephraim Hussein's The Tanzanian playwright Kinjeketile is a dramatic recreation of the Maji-Maji War, 1905 to 1907, against German unjust colonial rule in Tanzania. Similarly, The Trial of Denda Kimate is an attempt by Ngugi wa Thiong'o and Misa Mungo at the historical reconstruction of the Mau Mau armed struggle in 1951 against the British imperialist colonial government in pre-independence Kenya. Olaroti means Kurumi is a dramatization of the Yoruba Kiriji War, while his Hopes of the Living Dead reenacts the historical lepers, legitimate revolt led by Akot White, demanding for basic human rights to life and for recognition as a people. King Overawen Nogbasi, another play by the same playwright, is a graphic representation of the British imperialist invasion of Benin City, plundering of its highly valued artifacts, and subsequent exile of its monarch. Oba Overawen Nogbasi Akinwumi Ishola has made similar effort in his artistic documentation of two great Yoruba women, Efunseto Aniwura Iyalode Ibadan and Madame Tinubu, the Terror of Lagos. In almost of these plays and in other sui generis that are not mentioned in the book, a celebration of the heroic is central to their tropicality. Having been guided in our discussion by Joel Adedeji and Bode Osoyin, separate accounts on the origin, form and significance of Adamorisha play as a typical indigenous African ritual drama, we shall briefly comment on other dramatic forms including tragedy, comedy, and the non-conventional drama like the theater of the absurd or epic drama, and neo-rationalist drama. Consequently, we hope to examine as concisely as possible the nature of drama and other technicalities for the purpose of facilitating a thorough understanding and appreciation of drama as a significant field of study. Aristotelian dramatic principles. Conventional drama. Tragedy and comedy are two major conventional dramatic forms in their general conception and modes of imitation. Tragedy and other tragic forms and comedy and other comic forms. Dapo Adelugba 1990. Tragedy is from the Greek word tragos, a goat, traceable to ritual sacrifice and to the goat, the sacrificial animal. It also affirms the fact that the classical Greek tragedy originated from ritual enactments and the worship of dinosaurs. In addition, it explains the reasons for certain peculiarities that characterize the classical Greek tragedy, including the banishment of direct violence from the stage and the emphasis on action requiring seriousness as one engaged in a life-determining ritual. Among others, Aristotle defines tragedy as an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude, in language embellished with each kind of artistic ornaments, the several kinds being found in separate parts of the play, in form of action, not of narrative, through pity and fear, effecting the proper purgation of these emotions. Poetry, theory, and practice. 14. Similarly, comedy is from the Greek word komos, meaning to reveal. While tragedy is of tempered experience, comedy or reveling is by implication suggestive of a more relaxed and laughable experience. According to Aristotle, the two major forms in which most of other dramatic forms are subsumed differ. However, from each other in three distinct respects: the medium, language; the object, intent, subject matter and topicality; and the manner or mode of imitation, as in tragedy, representing men better than in reality, or in comedy, representing men worse than in reality. He argued further that the two forms are decidedly so to the degree that the choice made by a writer depends largely on the quality of his mind. He recognized two categories of writer in this regard, and the more serious mind imitates noble action and actions of good men, tragedy, while the men travail and imitate the action of meaner persons, comedy or satire. While we agree with Aristotle that tragedy is to some extent superior to comedy, recent developments, however, have shown cases of playwrights who have proved to be very good at the two dramatic forms and with no less quality of mind being applied to each. Therefore, comedy in exceptional cases, and in particular contemporary African drama, has been raised to a high artistic pedestal, such that in language and style it is highly elevated, and in topicality has assumed a serious and universal dimension, giving as much pleasure as an Aristotelian tragedy. Classical tragedy emphasizes characters and situations that foreground their personality. The situations are such that are overwhelming and which ultimately destroy, particularly the tragic hero. The hero is usually a primus inter pares, first among equals, a man of great achievement, having a royal or noble birth, a goodly natured person, but not perfect because he has an inherent weakness or tragic flaw, hubris, that ultimately destroy him. He is a filius Dei, one that is favored by the gods. The heroic is especially conceived of and in terms of the protagonist's ability to take responsibility for his deed or misdeed and acceptance of his punishment with measured integrity as consequences of his sin, through his punishment by death or banishment. And the way he embraces it, the heroic in the protagonist is reasserted and the nobility in human nature is redeemed. The purgation of fear and pity, catharsis, in the audience, which Aristotle also emphasized, is important here. Whatever catharsis might mean in the context that Aristotle used it, we do not intend to be dragged into the controversy. However, the point being made by this great philosopher and critic is that a good tragedy, in addition to appealing to men's intellect and provoking emotional response, must serve as a therapy of psychosocial purgation consequent on man's, the audience, sudden fear-induced empathy, and either to the hero embodied or has been a factor or victim of the fragility of human nature that is prone to errors. In addition, a good tragic drama must have propensity for reconciling man to the noble ideas in the tragic hero, which in spite of all gods remain imperishable. It is in this regard that tragedy represents men better than in actual life. On the other hand, comedy aims at representing men as worse than reality to the degree that characters and actions are inverted. An Aristotelian tragedy structurally is constructed on basic dramatic principles. For its subjects, it must have a single action and organic plot structure that is whole and complete, having a beginning, a middle, and an end. He described loose or episodic plots in which the episodes or acts succeed one another without probably or necessary sequence as the worst. He opined that only bad poets compose such pieces by their own faults. Theatre of the absurd or epic theatre. The concept began to emerge in bits and pieces in some literary works as far back as late 19th and early 20th century. Umbu-Roy, 1896 century, translated 1951 by Alfred Jarry, is regarded by critics as a typical early absurdist theatre, to the degree that it is characterized by an unorthodox use of theatricals, including what is to be regarded as nonsense language. Surrealism, a literary movement that emerged in the early 20th century, had encouraged the use of stream of consciousness, which often results in somewhat wild, disjointed, or illogical writings. They now feature prominently in tragicomic form that is now recognized as theater of the absurd, an aftermath of the world wars. Elements that have found their ways into absurdist theater and hitherto had existed in or as literary forms include the comedic, in which an anti-hero, a social outcast, a tramp, a drunkard, a whore, or a petty criminal assumes the central role and made to turn his tragic condition in a somewhat meaningless or existentialist world to a laughable farcical or slapstick humor. Another one is alienation effect or principle. Another influence to some extent on the absurdist theatre is Anton Artaud's collection of theoretical writings, Le Théâtre et son double, 1938, The Theatre and its Double, 1958, in which he advocates for a theatre that should deliberately jolt its audience and by so doing stir it to action. A theatre in which the audience could pay close attention to topicalities, not characters. The avant-garde theatre is also largely informed and characterized by this philosophy and features, similarly, the neo-rationalist theatre, an emerging modern African dramatic form pioneered by Femi Oshofisa, is also characterized by such features as common with Brecht's revolutionary epic theatre. Some contemporary playwrights whose dramaturgies have been influenced by the theatre of the absurd include Edward Abbey and Sam Shepard, American, Harold Pinter and Tom Stoppard, Britain, Gunther Grass and Peter Weiss, Germany, Max Frisch, Switzerland, Václav Havel, Czechoslovakia, Tevfik Alkim, Egypt, Femi Oshofisa, Bode Sowande, Ben Tomoloju, and more recently Niyi Oshundare, Nigeria. A detailed discussion on the epic theatre with reference to Bertolt Brecht and neo-rationalist theatre with special focus on Femi Oshofisa dramaturgy can be found in two separate chapters, Modern Drama and African Drama, respectively, in this book. The nature of drama and basic criticism. There are basic distinguishing characteristics that differentiate drama from other genres of literature. By its very nature and form, drama is performative. Therefore, by implication, it is realized primarily through performance, enactment. There are, however, exceptions to this rule, in the sense that writers like the famous Egyptian playwright Tevfik al-Hakim, for reasons of religion or politics, deliberately and successfully wrote plays largely meant to be read and enjoyed. Besides, quite a number of modern African playwrights, including the Nobel laureate literature Wole Soyinka, although they write for performance, have often had the reading audience in mind. Hence, the preponderance of poetry that compels on the reader's special attention on every verbal suggestion that can help him make his reconstruction of the plays on the platform of his imagination. In a sense, this form of drama assumes similar features as narrative fiction or written poetry, with its characteristics individuation, requiring that the reader recreate actions through imagination that is defined by his level of proficiency of the language in which the play is written. A drama production requires the competence of a play director who single-handedly interprets the action and the language of a drama text, determines the cast, who translate the text into an intelligible, holistic action in a single theatrical production or performance, and before a live audience. By implication, the audience is spared the rigors of and the barrier that language and the intended action might pose, since the director has already attended to them. Ordeal: what is served to the audience is the finished product of the director's interpretation of a drama text. The audience, in turn, immerses itself spontaneously in the action and responds to the production techniques, including the use of effects that make the enactment plausible. As a result of the individualized nature of narrative fiction, a reader can afford to read a novel in bits, at its own pace, for weeks or even months, without losing its logic or meaning. In addition, a novel can afford to explore a whole life experience, which accounts for its volume. Drama, on the other hand, by its nature and form, must be performed before a live audience. Its art limited in time by the attention span of its audience. Therefore, it can neither accommodate a whole life experience nor stretch beyond a single production at a given time. Aristotle's emphasis on limitation of an action and adherence to the three unities of time, place, and action, and in this case, unity of time, is apposite here. A drama presents a slice of life, not the whole of it. It is in the light of this that Aristotle has insisted that a good drama in terms of contextual space should not last more than a complete rotation of the earth or a day. However, performance duration varies from place to place or from one dramatic culture to another. In the West, for example, a standard play production duration may last between 2 to 3 hours. In Africa, it is between 45 minutes and 2 hours, whereas in the Orient, theatrical performance may span a whole day. Another significant difference, a corollary to the above, is the fact that a narrative fiction is neither limited in time nor space. It is characterized by incidental action, digressions, often with too many details and complex expressions, which are normally left to the individual reader to decipher or decode. On the other hand, drama dispenses with such luxuries as direct description of person, places, sounds, sights, smells, or direct authorial comments that attempt to explain an action, an expression, or a gesture, etc., which occur only as stage directions, some of which the director may or may not consider in his production script. Unfortunately, the audience, unless he is a member of the production crew, does not have access to the play text or the director's production script, which may contain some or all of that, so the audience depends solely on the director's interpretation of the drama text. Conflict, and in most cases, conflict resolution, are central to a good drama. It is in the light of this fact that the heightening of a conflict at the level of subject matter and topicality distinguishes drama from other literary genres. Other genres may have character and dialogue or poetlogue, as in the case of poetry. The contextual process of creating similar elements in drama differs a great deal. In drama, action and character are usually exaggerated or made larger than life, while in prose narrative, there is very little action and characters' comments on situation instead of participating directly in it. Drama demands a more overt form of action. The character's role or typification is subject to the director's interpretation, and this is in turn defined by the watching audience only through his action, utterances, and interaction with other characters in a play. In other words, while a narrative fiction point of view is used to an advantage to the degree that it permits or instruction, drama employs such elements as mime, dance, music, song, scenery, costume, sound effects, lighting, spectacle, etc. as mediating factor between subjects, matter, or topicality, compelling the watching audience to creatively, imaginatively, and critically participate as an observer, largely passively, though, as the syntax of action unfolds in the course of performance. Some basic audience attitude that dramatists often exploit besides conflict include surprise, suspense, dramatic irony, verisimilitude, and universality. This shall be discussed shortly in this chapter. Meanwhile, we shall briefly examine two approaches to the criticism of dramatic literature. There are two basic critical approaches. Most critics choose to approach the study of drama either as literature or as theater. As literature, the emphasis is on action, whereas as theater, the emphasis is on performance. Performance, for instance, implies concrete effects and emotional impact attained on stage. Action, on the other hand, implies such things as symbolism, the message, and the structural rhythm of the work, which apparently are non-specific and non-concrete. With drama as theater, analysis of dialogue effects would involve nuisance or speech and varied registers which are discoverable in the dialogue of the characters. But as literature, language is considered under style, metaphoric use of language, that is, figures of speech, as well as language as a conveyor of meaning, that is, a vehicle of exploration of the themes of the work. As theater, the emphasis is on role playing. Critics pay close attention to how actors play roles, whereas as literature, it is on character and characterization, that is, how well and how memorable characters are created. As theater, spatial patterns or simply acting areas as they relate to very concrete effects in terms of relation to action in a physical sense are brought under focus. On the other hand, in drama, as literature, setting or milieu or environment which is more generalized and inherent in the text is emphasized. The use of these terms can best be understood through direct experience of producing plays and teaching them as literature, by a direct cross-reference from one to the other, such that literary expression is fundamentally sharpened by theoretical experience. Many people, however, do not have such exposure or convergence, in which circumstance the option is to cultivate the habit of visualizing text on the stage through imaginative collaboration between a printed text and the subtext. In other words, all patterns of effects are achieved in production. The justification for integration arises from what Aristotle had discovered long ago: the fact that drama as an imitative or performative act is superior to all other forms. Besides, it is the most effective and most sociological of all literary acts. Besides dialogue, song, character, etc., which we have discussed earlier in this chapter, the ordering of the storyline plot in a drama is quite unlike what obtains in, say, narrative fiction. This is largely because drama is more tightly structured. In narrative fiction, for example, there is a main plot and in some cases a subplot, all divided into chapters. In a drama, events or episodes are divided into acts and scenes. The number of such acts or scenes has kept changing since the classical Greek times till date. In the classical Greek period, a play was divided into 5 episodes or scenes. Each scene was marked at the end by the intrude of a chorus. A chorus is a wise old man character, rich in experience, and often represents the mind of discerning audience. The Elizabethan plays had shorter irregular scenes and usually of 5 acts. In recent times, however, playwrights as well as directors are at liberty to choose or combine from a variety of forms. Mimesis. This is essentially a medium of communication through an essential movement, a non-verbal body language. Some playwrights do specify its use in order to achieve specific effects. The railway construction scene in Wole Soyinka's The Lion and the Girl, the opening scene as well as the encounter between Odewale and King Adetusa in Olaroteme's The Gods Are Not to Blame are good examples. Play directors are usually at liberty to include such physical actions as facial expressions and other forms of non-verbal expressive devices like kinesis, which a playwright may not have thought of originally. For the purpose of reinforcing an action which otherwise would have been a cut and dried action that is as lifeless as the cold printed text from which it is taken, quite naturally, mimesis encourages spontaneity and in some cases humor. Besides, it reinforces topicality and contributes to the development of the plot. Kinesis or dance. Like mimesis, it is significantly an expressive act form, often used to suggest an intense emotion or simply a state of being. 2 major sources of dance are traceable to ritual worship and social entertainment. In either case, it is often complemented with musical accompaniments. The chorus in the classical Greek drama accompanying is sung with suggestive kinesis. The Elizabethan comedic drama, Shakespearean in particular, often has those characters whose conflicts were resolved engage in a rigged dance. In contemporary African drama, characterized by unpredictable and limitless freestyle, dance comes in very handy. At the opening scene of Wole Soyinka's Death and the King's Horseman, Eleshoba engages in one of his vibrant dancing steps as he hurries through the market. Again, in the same play, we catch a glimpse of a mask-like ballroom dance, simultaneously with a quasi-masquerade dance organized in honor of the visiting prince from England. In Bentomoloju's Jankariwo, and especially in Femi Osofison's neo-rationalist drama, dance and music are prominent features often intended to reinforce the alienation effect as well as de-alienate one scene from the other. Surprise. There are basic attitude of the audience upon which a dramatist can play. They are surprise, suspense, dramatic irony, conflict, universality, and verisimilitude. Surprise entails taking the audience unawares. Dramatists like Shakespeare seldom use it. In Othello, however, it becomes apparent as Othello tells how he took the Tuban took by the throat and smote him. Similarly, in Wole Soyinka's Death and the King's Horseman, the audience least expect Eleshoba to commit suicide at the point he does. Neither is Toye's suicide expected in John Pepper's Clark Beckederemon's Songs of a Goat. Suspense is holding the audience in poised expectancy. It is a constant essential element in the theatre. It is highly dramatic and advances to a richer level of interest in dramatic irony when the expectant audience also likes some omniscient gods on Mount Olympus, is quite aware of the forces shaping events still hidden from the personae of the drama. This sense of sharing in the movement of destiny is one area in which drama rouses the human spirit. Dramatic irony. This arises when a situation appears in one light to a character in a play, but in quite a different light to other characters and or to the audience. The most apparent instance of this is in cases of mistaken identity, as when in the comedy of Eros the twins are confused. Dramatic irony is capable of reinforcing a tragic situation, as when an otherwise understanding audience watches helplessly as Oedipus is driven unwittingly to his doom, or Julius Caesar's rebuff of Artemidorus with "what touches us most shall last be served," before addressing the conspirators as friends. Universality. Many Afrocentric critics would rather this aspect of the discourse be dropped on the suspicious that the idea of universality is the West's attempt to globalize through imposition its literary culture and canons on the rest of the world. Perhaps they are right, perhaps not. We strongly feel, however, that the concept of universality has its own merits, and drama scholarship is incomplete without discussing it. Also, our drama students must not be denied the acknowledge. The whole concept of universality has to do with the sense within a play in which characters, whether individualized and recognizable as persons or presented as types or symbols, reach beyond their circumstances to wider implications. What is happening to these characters happens or might happen to anybody outside the world of the theatre. The means by which a play established this sense of universality varies from play to play. For example, Sophocles' Oedipus Rex and Shakespeare's Hamlet attain it partly because of the human limitations of the characters and the seemingly accidental and lifelike nature of the events. But the medieval English morality play Everyman addresses the issue of universality directly through its topicality and characterization. From the outset, it ignores the individual and establishes a wider meaning through characters that are direct universal icons. The main subject and mover of action around whom events revolve is every man. We must quickly add here also that whichever way universality is conceived and achieved, it is the measure of such universal trust that it achieves a lasting philosophical significance. Verisimilitude. In drama, particularly realistic and naturalistic drama, the appearance of truth or reality is desirable. This is why the dramatist seeks to present a slice of life to the audience as ready as it is to grant the necessary suspension of disbelief. While possibility defines a good literary work, including drama, credibility is not essential to a good drama. One may judge it for education or for propaganda or for art's sake, but the likelihood of the happenings is immaterial. What is important is the consistency of the event with the pattern that the drama sets for itself within the structure and mood of its own world. Whether or not such a world is realistic, such events must be in agreement with the established conventions. It is, in other words, the consistency with the norms of the evoked universe of the play that determines truth in acts. This is why act, particularly drama, is judged in reference not to all human knowledge but to its own world, its own coherent growth, mood, and structure. But we must emphasize that beyond the truth in act is the issue of universality, which relates to life outside a play. End of study section 2. Thanks for listening.